While we were in the motorcade going to the school, we began to get the sense, we were starting to hear from people, getting calls and such, saying that the World Trade Center, a plane had flown into the World Trade Center. The president had the textbook. He was following along with the lesson, and a little bit distracted, but following along with the lesson. Andy Card came through the side door and whispered to the president, and I noticed that his eyes left the book and began to stare straight ahead a bit, but the color drained from his face. So he was clearly shocked by what Card had to say.
I was standing there facing this, shooting it, with people flying by me, screaming and yelling and bumping into me and stuff. And I'm facing the other direction. It's actually kind of comical in a kind of a weird way. I shot that building as it started to collapse on itself, maybe 5 frames, until it disappeared behind this black building that was in front of it. And just, it's funny how your mind works. I felt like I was at a basketball game. I dropped my long lens and I picked up my short lens and shot the people running toward me with this cloud of debris billowing up and moving forward. It's a weird thing to have watched happen right in front of you, right there.
I picked my camera up, and all of a sudden I see people, falling from the World Trade Center. The photo's been called The Falling Man, had a certain symmetry to it. It was like the guy is falling headfirst in this one frame, sort of like an arrow bisecting the buildings from the North Tower and the South Tower. It's caused a lot of people to think about whether that picture should be shown again. It really isn't. It was published the following day in the New York Times and several other newspapers, and then it was sort of gone. And I think people react to it because they can relate to it. That might be them, and I guess that they can relate to it too much, and that's why it hasn't been republished.
The streets themselves were not even really quite recognizable. I couldn't quite figure out where was Houston Street, where was Canal Street, where was Washington Street, where was Greenwich Street. None of it made any kind of sense. You had this sense of chaos everywhere. You had this sense of, being in a completely new place.
At the end of the day, it was like everybody, we didn't leave until late at night. It was 11 o'clock, midnight maybe, and I'm walking all the way back to the White House where my car was parked. And I'll never forget the feeling passing these tanks in the street. The streets were dead silent, except for these tanks rumbling up and down Pennsylvania Avenue, and it almost felt like I'd walked into another world. And I remember thinking, I wonder if this is how it's always going to be.